So the Lord Jesus here is explaining a parable that he told a little bit back of the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is like a field that grows up with both wheat and weeds in it. So the darnel are the weeds. I don't know what darnel looks like, but I'm sure they're a very bad weed altogether. And the Lord then, he tolerates the good crop and the weeds as well until a certain time, and then he sends in his harvesters, and his harvesters separate them out and burn the weeds. And so he explains this to us. So when I'm here in Glencommera, and it's not central Dublin here, it's a very beautiful place. And when you look at it, you see the beauty of the world, and you get a little hint of how beautiful God made the world. So I'm sure if you were to hear that, you would say to me, well, we're not in heaven yet. That Glencommera isn't quite heaven, it isn't quite perfect. But nonetheless, you see a lot of the beauty of God here too. And this beauty, of course, ripples through all of creation. You see it in the love of your parents, please God, or in the joy of a child and dancing around and all that. And all these things are signs to us of how beautiful God created the world. And that's like the wheat that he has sown in his field. It's perfect. But an enemy has sown the weeds among them as well. And so we know that all these weeds and all this evil is there in the world too. And we know too, and this is our secret, that of course we cooperate with that evil as well as cooperating with that good. And so the Lord then, to give us a new way out of this, sends his Son, the Lord Jesus, who founds the church. And the church is like a new field in which everything is perfect. Isn't that right? Everything is perfect in the church. And so the Lord, once again, he creates something that is utterly good. And the origin of the church, of course, is in our Blessed Lady herself. She is the first to believe. She is the first disciple, and she is the first who holds Christ in her. So she is the first Christian in every way. And the church is in her image ever since. That she once was the church in its entirety, in her one person. And ever since, the church is in her image. So the church is very beautiful. And yet the church is full of weeds as well. And the secret, of course, that we don't like to say is that we all cooperate with that too. So the Lord is saying to us in this gospel to remember that what he has created is perfect. It's absolutely perfectly good. And we should never doubt the goodness of the Lord because of the evil that we see in the world around us ourselves, or the evil that we ourselves commit. That we can always turn back to the Lord, and he is perfectly good always. And then finally, there will be this harvest where the Lord will separate the wheat from the weeds, and then we will all go for judgment. And in heaven, everything will be perfect once again. God, who has wished everything to be perfectly good, will make everything perfectly good for us. But there's something in this as well that is a little bit frightening, which is, of course, that in heaven there will be no sin. And not only will there be no sin, but there will be no attachment to sin. We won't even want any sin. We'll just want God and the angels and the saints all there, and all that perfect radiant joy of heaven. And so the secret once again is, of course, that we all have an attachment to one sin or another, or several different sins, or tons of sins if you're me. We all have an attraction to sin. So we must ourselves work in this world to clear out those weeds from our own hearts as well, so that when that judgment comes, that we ourselves will be found worthy of entering into that perfection that God in the world, in the church, and in our souls has always wanted, and that he himself promises us he will grant to us in the end.